say?
Talking about who are the Annunaki, and this is part 2 or episode 2 for our Mystery of the Gods series. Now, I did do a video earlier, so I'm not going to really go over all the different announcements. Again, I'll try to summarize them as briefly as possible. We're now taking some of our bigger series, our more in-depth series, and after they're streamed out live, they will be unlisted. So they'll be, moved to Patreon, to where the patrons and, donors and stuff like that are able to continue to have access. It's not all my videos, but the Mystery of the Gods series, the Necronomicon series, and there's one more that I guess you just have to join Patreon and see. Oh, it's the Forbidden Occult series as well. So these are some of the series that we've decided to move over on Patreon, and this is going to encourage people to watch the show live as well. If it's not going to be there tomorrow per se, and it also encourages people to support. Everybody who donates and supports in the month of February gets access to these playlists, gets access to every week I try to do an uncensored video, something that's not public at all, and we've got an entire library of those videos. I'm talking probably 300 fucking hours of video, and I mean, we've done everything from organ harvesting and human trafficking to cannibalism, and I mean just the craziest stuff, and that's why it's uncensored, right? It's because it's stuff we just could not even think about posting on the public platforms. And some of my favorites, were on January 6th, the Capitol riots, showing like the exploding blood packets and all that shit. So there's some classics on there. And it's all the videos that also have gotten strikes over the years and have been taken down. So if you guys are interested in watching that, you join us over on Patreon or donate and support in the month of February, and you text for your links. It's same thing with the tarot readings. If you'd like to book a personal tarot reading, make sure you check out our daily readings. I've been slacking this week, but just because I've been so damn busy. But we usually post daily readings a few days a week, and a weekend reading for the tarot. It's free over on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube generally, but guaranteed Facebook. And if you want to book a personal tarot reading, you just text 513-393-2396 or email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com. And for people that purchase tarot readings, I try to get them out in 48 to 72 hours, but sometimes it takes me a day or two extra. And if so, cut me some slack. I'm really busy, man, right now. So I'm trying to get them out as fast as I can. I do owe one or two people a reading, but I never leave nobody hanging. So I appreciate all you guys too for taking the time to join me and watch tonight. Whether you found me through the tarot or you found me through the other content. Yeah, it's really cool. So tonight when we look at who are the Annunaki, some of the subject matter we're gonna tackle tonight, we will be looking at some of the creation stories, and kind of who is Enki, who is Enlil, and this these two brothers, and how the two brothers are a part of all these different creation myths. We will be looking at Marduk as well, and Marduk and his role as far as the gods, and he's in quite a few of these epic tales, which we'll be looking and bouncing around in a few different books as well. We will be looking at the Lost Book of Enki. We will be looking at the Enuma Elish, and we'll be looking at the Epic of Gilgamesh, and if we have time, we're going to jump into the Kolbrin Bible as well, because we will, throughout tonight also have to talk about Nibiru, right? You can't talk about the Anunnaki without talking about Nibiru, Planet X, because of the connection there. And I'm going to try to instead of giving you like the theme that you get on every channel when it comes to Planet X, whenever you're like, oh my god, there's a planet coming and you're fucked, you know, I see it as a more of an esoteric understanding, you know. So we're going to look at it from that point of view. We're going to look at all of this, you know. And this is why it's important to watch a lot of my videos, like the Necronomicon books and shit with the Tiamat and the Cthulhu mythos and all of that. You're going to see these books always crisscross. They have nothing to do with each other, guys. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. Like, you're going to notice, like, every religion, every school of thought, every text, ancient or not, you know, it's like they're all based or grounded in some, you know, some same oral tradition or, you know, similar knowledge. And the names may change to a lot of these gods and deities, but 9 times out of 10, I can promise you, they're the same people, you know. And the next series in the Mystery of the Gods will be Norse mythology. We're going to get into the Norse and, you know, Ragnarok and all of that. So that's going to be the next one coming up as far as this series goes. That's the next one I have planned. So, let's go ahead and get into this. I don't really know where I want to start with this. We're going to look at the comparison of the Anunnaki as opposed to the Nephilim, because a lot of people believe, you know, and one of the questions I guess we could start off asking is, are the Anunnaki the creator gods? You know, are they the creator gods? A lot of people believe so. You know, if you watch television, which me even saying that should give you a clue on whether or not it's true. But those who watch television and the History Channel and shit like that are familiar with, you know, ancient astronaut theory. And, you know, this is something that kind of brought, and what's his name, guys? Billy Carson? Is that his name? Am I getting that right? Am I getting that right or wrong? I'm probably getting it wrong. You guys know what I'm talking about? The dude, he always talks about the Anunnaki and, you know, these alien gods and their technology and all of this. And, you know, we're going to look at some of it from that angle, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think that guy's right about a lot of what he says. I think it sounds really good, but it's what you call the exoteric understanding. We do talk about this a lot, too, on this channel, that there are 2 different versions, and these lights are cooking me. There's 2 different versions of how we can look at these ancient texts, spiritual texts. And remember, the key being spiritual, right? So these were high consciousness, high intellect, spiritual texts that were written, inspired by Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit. They were inspired by the divinity within someone, you know, whether it be the gods or men or whatever, right? And like, if you go to church or you watch a Billy Carson, right? Or you watch Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, you will get what's called the exoteric understanding. The exoteric understanding is simply everything being external to you. So, hence, just kind of an example here. In church, Jesus, right? Jesus is in the sky, right? Jesus is a dude. He's a God outside of yourself, right? You pray to Jesus, you pray to God, because they are not within you. They are external to you. It's exoteric. And if you know, within the Saturnian death cult and, you know, Illuminati and all of that, they call that the exoteric, because that's the outer rings of Saturn. So it's the outer understanding the external things outside of ourself. That's where the ancient astronaut theory comes. You know, these gods that came down from the heavens in spaceships and physical spaceships. You know, we've talked about this too, how the waters above the firmament, the waters below the firmament in the Gnostic texts, you know, and They traveled on boats. If you look at Egypt, Ra and, Thoth and all them, you'll see them on boats, right? Why? Because they're ships, right? The water's above the firmament. So they're ships for the water, right? Space in essence is considered to be water in a lot of these different mythos. That's why they're called space ships, right? So, and we've talked about how when you come into this world, you're pricked on the sole of your feet and brought in by a doctor, and it's the maritime law that rules over the law of the land that that we all we used to have before maritime law took over everything. So in essence, basically, these deities are presiding, in crafts, and we're calling them, spaceships because, and if you look at a lot of the different designs too, like by NASA and shit, a lot of people believe like those spaceships, are even designed to float on water as well. The waters are going to be really big in this. You're going to see we're made up of 70% water. The earth is made up of 70% water. You hear the story of Christ. Christ walked on water, so on and so forth, right? So this exoteric understanding is these guys came down in spaceships, and they seeded the planet and they created a slave race. And this slave race that they created was a dark-skinned race. Or dark people, right? This is where you get a lot of the people that, how do I want to word this? But a lot of these people that believe like the original Hebrews were, only black people, or that Jesus was black, or that black people were the original people because they have an understanding of the exoteric. They don't have an esoteric understanding. They're going off of these stories, not understanding what they're truly being told or what they actually mean, right? And this is what we call hidden in plain sight, guys. Okay, so the truth is always, it's right there for everybody to see. I shit you not. It's always been right there for all of us. But the thing is, when we have a mind that's geared towards the physical world and a physical understanding, right? That's how we're going to perceive everything. That's how we're going to, that's how we're going to take in information, That's how it's going to, it's going to be to us. We're going to see everything as physical, as black and white in that way. But once we begin to open ourselves up to awareness, and we start this journey of self-initiation into higher consciousness, and we pursue the path of spirituality, and we try to walk down this middle way, we start to see things with new eyes. That's why it's called in the Bible having the eyes to see and the ears to hear. See, people don't have the eyes to see when they're only seeing everything external to themselves, right? When they're seeing it on the outside point of view. So these dark people that they were talking about was your shadow. It wasn't an actual race of people. It isn't just black people that are the children of God. That's fucking stupid. Sorry, but that's fucking stupid. Just like, and just like the people that believe with the Aryan race, not understanding that hair is symbolic of your spiritual antenna, and eyes and the color of your eyes is representative of how you're perceiving things and shit like that. They don't understand the true occulted meaning of these things. So they hear Aryan race and they say, oh shit, guess what? It's white people that are the descendants of the gods, right? No, it's not. It's not just white people. No more than it's just black people that are the children, the original Hebrews or the Egyptians. And there's a lot of these movements online. A lot of these movements online where you see like different races, proclaim to be the Kemetans, and like, oh, we're from Kemet, and we they're trying to take ownership of these Egyptian mysteries, and it's like, how can you take ownership of a mystery you don't even understand? See, these peoples, humanity, even at one point in the early days, was one race, by the way. If you look at the Tower of Babel, so before a lot of these destructions that took place, remember what happened in the Tower of Babel, okay? We came together and we built this tower, more than likely some sort of genetic or conscious construction, right, to where we were able to ascend to a certain point. And by trying to overthrow God, or this war on heaven, we got too big for our britches, in essence, spiritually. So this tower was tossed down, right? Our language was confused, and and there was races that were created. So when people talk about, one race was the original race, that wasn't how it actually was. At one time we were all just one people. The reason we developed different melatonin in our skin and shit is just because we were in different areas of the world. So for somebody to think like, the Kemetans and shit like that were just, a certain color or it's just foolish. No more than, the foolishness of somebody thinking of like white Jesus or Aryan race or anything. It's just stupid. And that's why you got to be careful about who you listen to online and what you buy into. Because let me tell you, a lot of these groups are, they're psychological warfare is what they are. They're psyops. They're designed to corral you into these little, schools of thought and belief systems and stuff, and they're controlled opposition is what they are. I don't want to get into naming all the different, Hebrew Israelites and fucking Kemetans and all these different groups, but I'm just trying to tell you, at the end of the day, they have a narrative that they're trying to push. They have an agenda that they're trying to push, and it's one of division. That's how you know it's not of God. That's how you know it's not of the Spirit, right? Anything that's truly of the Spirit or truly of God doesn't push racial division, right? It doesn't push these type of things. That's how you know where it truly originates from, and how and if somebody can't even tell you the genuine meaning of something, then it's because they don't actually understand it. So we look at the exoteric, which is this external point of view. Like I said, these different groups and, schools of thought and belief systems have this external point of view. Christianity, so on and so forth, right? Then we have the esoteric, which are the inner rings of Saturn. Now the inner means like the inner circle, right? This is the inner circle. This is introspection. Something that takes everything, all information, all wisdom, and it understands that everything outside of ourselves is in essence externalized because it's a projection of ourselves. So whatever we're, and that's why a lot of these ideologies reflect people. Indoctrination is separation, says Kimberly F. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why you'll see a lot of these different, doctrines, so to speak, reflect the true heart of the person that's spewing the doctrine. A lot of these people, their doctrines justify their beliefs. if they're racist against a certain group of people, well, then they'll justify, that belief of why they should hate every other race, or why they, it's just disgusting. But you can see a person's true soul by, what they expound from their doctrines. Same thing with people that believe every other religion's going to hell except them, right? That's an elitist mentality, and it's like, oh, we got it right. That's arrogance. It's ego. Thinking that God, then God is such a piece of shit that he's, he allowed 90% of the world to not have it, to not figure it out. He's just going to throw them in a pit of flames because they didn't follow the book you follow. Now, this esoteric understanding is when we go look at things from an internal point of view, a spiritual point of view. So let's say we're looking at Jesus per se, right? Christianity. And the Gnostics, before they got wiped out by the Romans, and before the Council of Nicaea, and before they canonized the Bible, which when they canonized it, they took out all the apocryphal text, right? Anything that was like really genuinely inspired, they wanted to keep those gospels that, held this this story, and they took a mix of Mithraism, sun worship, a mix of the old Roman pagan beliefs as well, and mixed that in, along with some of the Gnostic stuff. So it was not the true doctrine that the genuine Christians were believing back at that time, which was one that was incredibly esoteric. So we look at an esoteric understanding. God is inside of us, which is what Christ said, right? The kingdom of heaven is within, right? You are in the Father, right? You are in me, I am in the Father, right? Like he's saying, we're all in each other, It's this understanding of things being within ourselves. All knowledge, all spiritual, all spirit, all everything residing inside. And it's seeing things from that point of view. And tonight, as we go through this, we're going to start in the 5th tablet of the Lost Book of Enki. Well, here, let's actually start with the Nephilim here. Let's start with the Nephilim before we jump into the 5th tablet. And if I look weird here while I'm moving around, it's so I can see my tabs. I got a bunch of equipment up on my desk right now. So now we're going to try to dissect a few of these words. We're going to start with the Bible here because this is going to essentially shut the mouths of the Bible thumpers. They say, oh, that's not based in biblical this or that. Well, a lot of what we see in the Bible actually, came from, the Sumerians and stuff. It's a lot older than the Bible. But people will never tell you that because they don't they don't want you to know the truth, right? They want you to stick to the religions that, you've been believing. Well, I mean, and the labels thing is, people can do what they want, but I just don't. The only way I use labels is so I can. I use labels just to have an understanding of what group or thinking process I'm referring to. But as far as myself, I don't have any labels at all. For myself, I don't belong to any organized religion or denomination or any of that. I don't believe in it. I believe those things do nothing but divide. I believe, there should be no set doctrine in stone, that we're meant to follow. It's like, and I'm not saying that we can't follow. We can't follow certain principles or have guidelines and things like the 10 Commandments, like those are all pretty self-evident though. any person that has a good moral compass within them isn't going to break any of those rules. You know, it's like, if your rule is love, right? And wasn't it Christ that said, you know, love others as I have loved you? You know, with this, you know, you're fulfilling all of the commandments, the entirety of the law. You know, because you can't go against love and steal. You can't go against love and no, you don't get a master's by reading one book. Absolutely not. You do in theology, right? If you're if you have a theology degree, you do get a master's by reading one book. So, but like, you can't steal, kill, none of those things, you know, if you're acting out of love. So it's like, love to me is the rule, is the religion. So God's grief over human wickedness. This is Genesis 6. And anybody that doesn't know what I'm using, this app is called The Word. It's really, really cool because it allows us to see the etymology of the words. You're going to see what I'm talking about in just a second. Now, when humankind began to multiply on the face of the earth, which means to cast together and increase, especially in number, on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born to them. Now, this is what I like to see here, because I have a view or opinion on the daughters of men and stuff, and I'm going to try to explain it as we go through tonight. But looking at the daughters, let's see if I can pull this up here. Daughters, H1129 out of the Mickelsons, means to build. Banyam, possess. Banay, banim, bane, to build. Where's it at here? Daughters, Bath, a daughter, a fair town or fair village. Apple of the eye. Of the eye. I like that. So there you go. Apple of the eye. Branch, like from the tree of life. Company. Daughter. Owl, which is wisdom. Town or village. That is interesting. Which is like, a home. A fair town, fair village. Like that. Bathe, which means to cleanse. Like, so this is the apple of the eye. When we're looking at the daughter, it's divine feminine, right? So, and daughters were born to them. When humankind, which is Adam, or the Atma, human being, the individual or the species, mankind, began to multiply or increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them. Interesting how daughters were born to them. Like, why would they even feel the need to tell us that daughters were born to us? You would think, male and female, we would already have daughters born to us, would we not? Right? Just by the fact that we're able to procreate and that any of us was here. So the fact that they use the word daughter shows you that there is some type of importance to this word. It's not just John trying to make something out of nothing, right? The common sense would dictate that we already had women on the earth, or else we couldn't have, been multiplying here. And the daughters being born to them, fair town, fair village, apple of the eye, right? Apple of the eye. Daughters being divine feminine were born to them. The sons of God, sons of the supreme ones, are the gods, which are supreme magistrates, the highest magistrates of the land, the supreme angels, entities of unspecified type. And saw that the daughters of humankind were beautiful, or good, or a good thing. Good man or woman, or a well, like a well of goodness, right? saw that the daughters of humankind, the apple of this eye, was good, right? This divine feminine was good and beautiful. Thus they took wives for themselves, nashim, the procreational female of a species, woman, wife, mate. They took wives. They mated with mankind. Why? Because of their divine feminine aspect. I believe that these entities didn't have this Holy Spirit within them, this inner light that we have. If you think about the jinn, genie, archons, things like that, a lot of them, and even in Reality of the Rulers, right, in the Gnostic text, when it talks about how that's what the archons did, was they blew the breath of life into Adam while he was laying on the ground, and they couldn't get him to rise, right? And that man was given the breath in his nostrils by God alone. And these are the sons of God, meaning they are soul, right? But they don't have this divine feminine aspect, this creative spark within them. So they took on the daughters of men, mated with the daughters of men, or females, procreated with them, right? They took wives for themselves from any they chose. So the Lord said, and why did he have to say this? And see what I'm saying? Why would he have to say this after they take wives? See, these gods were like eternal, right? They lived thousands and thousands of years. Okay, and think about before the flood and shit like that too. Which we're going to see a lot of those people, Noah, Veasudra, and all that, they're the same people. Okay, and they're in these texts, they're in these books, because the Bible actually comes from these texts, these Sumerian, Akkadian, Mesopotamian texts. Okay, so it says, my spirit will not remain in humankind indefinitely. Since they are mortal, they will remain for 120 more years. How about that? So these gods, which can live damn near infinitely, now mate with men. Now procreate with men because of our divine feminine aspect, that spark within us, that third eye. Right? And now God declares, my spirit will not, my wind, my breath, right? My breath, which is that divine essence that I was just talking about. Breath, i.e. sensible or even violent, exhalation, life, anger, substantiality, a region of the sky, spirit, but only of a rational being, including its expression and functions. So, my breath will not remain in humankind forever. It will not remain in humankind, indefinitely, which means, let me see if I can get this on here, concealed. Time out of mind, past or future, eternally. Since they are mortal, meaning they have a flesh body, they will remain for 120 more years. And I want to just kind of point this out too. I got a book over here. Watch every book follow. About telomeres, right? And there's actually this genetic marker in our bodies in humankind that that shows there was a certain point in our evolution where our telomeres, which extend our life force, were actually altered. And that's why we can actually transcend past 120 years. So somebody literally jumped into, humanity genetically and spliced our telomeres. They're artificially, cut off and this has been proven scientifically, they appear to be artificially cut off to where we can't live past 120 years, because our telomeres would like replicate themselves all on their own eternally, if not, right? But they've been clipped in essence to where they can't reproduce within our body and like renew themselves, because that's what telomeres do. They like regenerate or whatever. I mean, it's like gives us the ability to have extended life or life force. So now the Nephilim, Nephal or Nephil, a feller, i.e. a bully or a tyrant. Nephal, to fall. Nephal means to fall, the fallen, right? They were cast down. Judge, to intercede, palal. They were judged and cast down, right? The fallen were on the earth in those days. And like how they slid this in there? So the fallen were on the earth in those days and also after this. I feel like I never hear that. You know, they never say that in church and shit like that. They never say, yeah, they say in those days, but you never hear, like, and also, you know, after those days. Like, meaning they're still here. You know. So the fallen were on the earth in those days, which are the Nephilim, when the sons of God, and remember, sons of God are the Elohim, or supreme ones, or supreme magistrates, highest magistrates of the land. The land translates to earth, biblically as well. If we look at like the Hebrew and stuff, I'll just save you the trouble. A lot of these words already know what they mean. So these sons of God would sleep with the daughters of humankind who gave birth to their children, and they were the mighty heroes of old. They were the mighty heroes, or the Gibor. Gibor means powerful, warrior, tyrant. And remember, in all of these creation mythos that we have, it's always the warrior first, right? Then the shepherd. Okay. The heroes of old, the famous men, and I think some translations say heroes of old or men of renown, right? Which means an appellation as a mark or memorial of individuality, honor, authority, or character. Let's see if there's anything else we can dig out of that. Shemay, which means the sky. The mighty ones, heroes of old, or the men of the sky. How about that? Men of the sky. To put in the sky. All right. But as the Lord saw the wickedness of humankind had become great on the earth, every inclination of the thoughts of their minds, and you see how it kind of gives it like a very different, you get like a different meaning than what our modern day words kind of, you know, it gives it a deeper meaning actually. So the Lord saw, I just want to show you too. Lord is Jehovah, which is Yahweh, right? And let's see if I can pull this up. I don't know if they have it on this. Jehovah, to be or become, come into being, to exist. They don't have it. Some translations will have Jove given, right? And it's like gets into Jupiter and stuff like that. But we'll save that for another day. But the Lord saw the wickedness of humankind had become great on the earth. Every inclination, meaning every form or conception of their thoughts and their minds, right? Their intentions was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made humankind on the earth, and was highly offended. He was highly pained or angered. So the Lord said, I will wipe humankind whom I have created from the face of the earth, everything from humankind to animals, including creatures, reptiles, means serpents, that move on the ground, which, let's see if we can get this right. To glide swiftly, or to crawl, or to move with short, or to swarm, like a locust, right? Swarms, right? Or ramas. That's interesting. To swarm, to creep, or to move. Interesting. And the birds of the air, which is an oaf or an oaf, bird that's flying or foul. Flieth, flying, foul, means to fly, to faint, to cover. Isn't that interesting how these are right next to each other too? You see like these plumed serpents or feathered serpents, and they have it like right next to each other, right? These, the serpents that move on the ground next to the birds of the air, the fowls of the air. For I have regret that I have made them. Noah found favor. In the sight of the Lord. So, you guys see here, in this little tale, we had the sons of God. The sons of God saw the daughters of men. And these sons of God are the supreme magistrates of the earth, okay? The rulers of this reality, the archons or the angels or whatever, and they took for themselves wives because of our divine feminine or our Holy Spirit within us. And because of that, God said that spirit won't stay in them forever because it made us immortal. That's where demigods came in. And that's where Nephilim, or fallen ones, came in, right? In those days when the sons of God would sleep with the daughters of humankind, they gave birth to children. They were the Nephilim, the fallen, right? They were the mighty heroes of old and the famous men. These were the, Hercules and all of that. And the Lord saw that the wickedness of humankind had become great on earth, and every inclination of the thoughts of their mind was only evil all the time. All their intentions were evil. And he made humankind on the earth, and he was highly offended. And he said, I will wipe humankind whom I've created from the face of the earth, everything from humankind to animals, including beasts, right? Cattle, beasts, serpents, or fowls. And I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the sight of the Lord. Now, here we go. Where's it at? I want to make sure I think I'm going to start right here. And look, right here from the Egyptian Book of the Dead to... And I feel like this is really interesting. Let me move back over here. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, chapter 134, 14, 17. The gods. Behold, O ye shining ones, ye men, and gods, ye damned ones. When ye behold Osiris Ani, triumphant like unto Horus, and adored by reason of the Uriet crown, fall ye down upon your faces, for Osiris Ani is victorious over his foes in the heavens above and on the earth beneath, in the presence of the godlike rulers of all the gods and goddesses. And, I wonder if they're describing, Marduk, because Horus is like the child, Marduk. Says, I am the Lord of the red crown, which is on the head of the shining one, he who gives life to mankind from the heat of his mouth, and who delivers Ra from Apepi, right? And Apepi is Apophis, and Ra is the sun god, which is also Marduk. So now we're going to move over here. This is going to I set it up for this. Now the Nephilim, and we can see here, the cylinder seal depicting what would be the war in heaven. And on an esoteric point of looking at this, these war in heaven, you can look at this as a war within oneself, right? Sons of God, which is like the luminaries, or, mixing with the flesh, right? And that's what created the fallen, which you could look at as like humankind. A lot of people believe that we are the fallen angels. So it's like that's just one way of looking at this, or this could be the tale of this Holy Spirit commingling with not just a flesh being, but a demon as well. So now the Nephilim, plural, are the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men in Genesis 6:4, or giants who inhabit Canaan in Numbers 13:33. And if we look at like the Canaanites, this is where the cremation of care and all that shit, where you see them worshiping the giant fucking owl, which is Moloch, right, where they sacrifice children and Baal. And remember, I think it was in the last Mystery of the Gods when we did Sons of the Children of the Law 1, where the children of Belial, right? And these Belialians and all that, like they're coming from Baal. So these two different, breeds here. Numbers 13:33. And that's very esoteric. 13 is a 12 and 1, right? That we see all over the place within the esoteric. 12 astrological signs, 1 sun, 12 disciples, 1 Jesus, right? So on and so forth. And then 33, Jesus was 33. 33 is enlightenment, right? A similar word with different vowel sounds is used in Ezekiel 32:27 to refer to dead Philistine warriors. In the Hebrew Bible and several non-canonical Jewish and early Christian writings, Nephilim means the fallen ones, are a people created by the cross-breeding of the sons of God and the daughters of men. The word Nephilim is loosely translated as giants or titans in some Bibles and is left untranslated in others. The phrase sons of God is sometimes translated into English as sons of gods. The Hebrew word Elohim is a plural form, but is often used with single verbs and adjectives, as in this case, when the single meaning is traditionally understood. The traditional Jewish view, deriving from the book of Enoch, is that the fathers of the Nephilim, they're the sons of God, were the Grigori, a class of fallen angels also called the Watchers. However, there is some controversy on this point. Some commentators suggest the Nephilim were believed to have been fathered by the members of Proto-Hebrew pantheon and are a brief glimpse of early Hebrew religion, most of the details of which was later edited out of the Torah. Others, especially some Christians, suggest the sons of God were fully human. It is sometimes suggested that ridding the earth of these Nephilim was one of God's purposes for flooding the earth in Noah's time, right? And we've been seeing where he said, like, Noah, Noah was the one that he's seen that was good, and this look at the, like, with the water, in this Piscean age, was that the Great Flood was the beginning of, this age of Pisces, which is a water sign? Was that when that began? We did see, and I'm trying to think of what we seen. Didn't we see something where it's talking about bulls or something like that just a moment ago? And I believe we were in, the age of Taurus or Aries or something before this. So I'm just trying to put two and two together here, thinking out loud. Anybody has anything to add or wants to, or remembers what it was that was actually written down? I don't want to go back and read it all over again. And make sure to hit that like if you're in the chat here. Now, despite the literal text of the Bible and its traditional interpretation, the idea that heavenly beings mated with humans is controversial, particularly among Christians who cite the teaching of Jesus in the book of Matthew that angels do not marry. They may take the verse in question out of context because Jesus said that the resurrected don't marry in heaven, but are as the angels. And I wish they would give us the verse so we can break that down. Anybody know the verse we're talking about here in the book of Matthew, that angels do not marry? Others who find the idea of the angels mating with humans as distasteful have suggested more figurative interpretations of the Nephilim, such as the idea that they were the offspring of men possessed by demons. Still others, including the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, take the traditional view of Genesis 6:1 that the allusion refers to some men from the godly lineage of Seth. And I don't know if you guys remember this. It's been a while ago, but we did Seth and the Temple of Set and all of that. We did a video on this forever ago. It was really good. Called the Sons of God, an expression denoting those in covenant relationship with Yahweh. Deuteronomy 14:1, 32:5 began to pursue fleshly interests and so took wives of the daughters of men, i.e., those who were unbelievers and descended of Cain. This is also the view presented in a few extra biblical yet ancient works, particularly the second book of Adam and Eve, and it actually talks about Cain and Abel in the lost book of Enki. Here in just a minute, we'll get to that. See, others find the idea of the angels mating with humans as distasteful. The figurative interpretation suggests that they were the offspring of men possessed by demons. And that was kind of like what I just, said, that, these entities, and if we think about the archons, the governors, the rulers of reality as, the planets, right? These sons of Satan or whatever. Those would be sons of God, in essence, right? Sons of God. And when we look at coming on to the daughters of men, I know they make it as this, procreational sexual thing, but something tells me that it's like this astrological energy, because remember in Genesis 1, The earth without shape, empty, and darkness was over the surface of the watery deep. Right? Remember this, and the water is the abyss. Right? But the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the water. God said, "Let there be light." Light is what? Luminary. Right? It's a luminary. God saw the light was good, and so God separated light from darkness. God called the light day, the darkness night. The adversary, right? And remember, when the earth was without shape, empty, and darkness, it was over the surface of the watery deep. Right? It was in the abyss. So it was without shape. Without shape. Worthless. Desolate. A desert. Right? A desert. Without life. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters." An expanse means the firmament or the visible arch of the sky. And this is, for these flat earthers out here, this is where it makes you guys look really good, because this visible arc of the sky, which means to pound the earth, to expand, or to overlay with thin sheets of metal. Isn't that interesting? Now these metals, this arch, right, or arc over the sky, and it's a sign of passion, right? By hammering, the hammers of the gods is like sparks or light, right? There is these luminaries already, and to overlay with thin sheets of metals. Remember, in the last Mystery of the Gods series, when we looked at the gods of Egypt, each planet, each color of the rainbow correlates to a metal as well. Iron, tin, so on and so forth. Gold, right? So that's interesting right there. So God made the expanse, separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. Right? This is that water above it, water below it. We've talked about this. God called the expanse sky. And there was evening, there was morning, a second day. Now let's go down here. God, or Elohim, supreme ones, highest magistrates of the land, supreme angels created humankind, or Adam, Atma, in his own image. An image meaning phantom, illusion, resemblance, or a representative figure, an idol, right? It is a fucking projection, right? A phantom is a specter. It's a ghost. It's an illusion. It's not really there, right? That's why you're in the simulation. It's these lights of this heavenly expanse, these luminaries, right, which arc, right, these rainbow colors that are projecting through this firmament, right, that are giving projection to man, this phantom, this illusion, and he's mixed with this spark of God, this divine spark or consciousness, which is the breath of life that animates that shadow, that illusion, that figure. And I believe that's when they're talking about, these entities, these angels, coming unto the daughters of men. That's what they're actually talking about, is the process of these lights of the ark actually commingling with that divine breath or that divine spark, right? It was just Adam, Atma, by himself, physical being without the divine spark, and then boom, the daughters of men, meaning the divine feminine aspect, right, making giants. So giants were probably the first, because they were incredibly high consciousness. They could live forever. They could do whatever they wanted, right? That's probably the first creation, you know, and they got wiped out. And this is, you know, think about Tower of Babel stuff, you know. This is like a super high consciousness being, and there's been many people that are like, when we look at like Metatron, the angel Metatron, he's like supposed to be the perfection of humankind, and he's 55 feet tall. And I've already shown you guys the Egyptian kings, right, where you can see the statues. Now pull it up real fast so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's see if I got this here. Right here, boom. See, like some are like 15 feet tall, 36 feet tall, right, in this Valley of the Kings, right, showing the different levels of consciousness of these beings that ruled over ancient Egypt. And the rulers over the land were also often given rulership because of divine right. Right, meaning they had more of divinity within them, so they were closer descendants to these original Nephilim, or fallen angels, meaning luminary that is on the ground, that's on the earth, an angel that is on the earth. He has fallen, right? These watchers or energies that watches derives from the governors, lords, archons, right, which are these planets, these sons of Satan or sons of God, which means supreme ones, supreme magistrates of the land. And I'm going to show you here now in the Lost Book of Enki where these guys were actually sent. All right, watch. And now you see it's like, you know, biblically it's kind of backed up here. Now let me show you there are these different types. Before I jump, you know, over to this, let me finish this thought. That way you guys can at least see this. Matthew 22:30. Yeah, well, that's what it says. It says it doesn't think it's, you know, the angels. It thinks it's talking about the resurrected. So I believe you're right, Deborah. So Raphaim, meaning Raphaim is general title of the book of Joshua that states was given to the Aborigines of Palestine, which were afterwards conquered and dispossessed by the Canaanite tribes. They were known to the Moabites as Emim, or fearful. To the Ammonites as the Zamzummim. In the book of Samuel, it states that some of them found refuge among the Philistines, which we, you know, already heard about the Philistines a moment ago, and were still existing in the days of David. We know nothing of their origin. The Anakim and the Torah, the Anakim are the descendants of Anak and dwelt in the south of Palestine, in the neighborhood of Hebron. In the days of Abraham, they inhabited the region afterwards known as Edom and Moab, east of the Jordan. They are mentioned during the report of the spies about the inhabitants of the land of Canaan. The book of Joshua states Joshua finally expelled them from the land, excepting a remnant that found a refuge in the cities of Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. The Philistine giants whom David encountered were supposedly descendants of Anakim. See, Joshua expelled them from the land, right? Removed them from the earth. The story of the Nephilim is chronicled more fully in the book of Enoch, part of the Ethiopian biblical canon. There are also allusions to these descendants in the Deuterocanonical books of Judith, Sirach, Baruch, and Wisdom of Solomon. The Nephilim in parahistory, they have been in many interesting attempts to reconcile mythology with evolution, the theory being that the mythology often contains grains of truth in the form of a highly distorted folk memory of events in the remote evolution of the human past. In this context, the Nephilim have been associated with everything from Atlantis to extraterrestrials in efforts to rationalize their literal existence. One theory is that the Nephilim were actually surviving Neanderthals, or a Homo sapien Neanderthal hybrid. It is believed by such people that modern man shared several thousand years of history with Neanderthals, and also that Middle Eastern region was home to some of the last surviving pockets of Homo sapiens, or Homo neanderthalis. Therefore, it is conceivable that a folk memory of these creatures survived by the way of mythology, but not necessarily in the way that it is imagined. In addition, it appears that the very last Neanderthals adopted some of the technological and cultural innovations of their contemporaries. So the theory goes, surviving Neanderthals or hybrids might have been very large, powerful men possessing the intellect and societal characteristics of our species, explaining their identification as mightiest ones, men of renown, which could be great exaggeration based on some level of prowess. One major flaw in this theory, some have suggested, is that Neanderthalines were in fact slightly shorter in height than Homo sapiens and unlikely to have been named giants. On the other hand, they were giants relative to their even shorter predecessors. Australopithecus and Homo habilis. Of course, the flaw is easily resolved when one remembers that the word nephilim, earlier described, means fallen ones and not giants. The word being translated in the King James Bible as giants, recognized now as somewhat a mistranslation. Nephilim and ancient aliens. The Nephilim were most likely ancient aliens who came to Earth to create, study, monitor the human experiment. Reality is a conscious hologram brought forth into physical existence to study emotions. You can see the image here, or I think you can see the image here. So we're going to close this out, and then we're going to jump over to the text here, guys. Let me close these out. We start at the 5th tablet. It's actually a good comment. Yeah, you know, it's wild, dude. It is so wild, you know. People literally tune out, like when you you show the Bible or anything like that. People have TikTok brain is what they have now. It's like they don't have the ability to, to sit still and watch anything. It's really crazy. It's crazy as fuck, actually. Make sure to hit that thumbs up, hit that like for me, subscribe if you have not. And hopefully your TikTok brain, doesn't kick in. So we're going to start here on the 5th tablet, and this is the Lost Book of Enki. Memoirs and Prophecies of an Extraterrestrial God. So the synopsis of the 5th tablet is Ninmah arrives on Earth with a group of female nurses. She delivers seeds to grow elixir, providing plants. She brings enlil news of their out-of-wedlock son, Ninurta. In the Apsu, Enki establishes an abode and mining sites. In the Eden, Enlil builds space and other facilities. Nibiruans on Earth, or Annunaki, numbered 300 Ijiji, operate the facilities on Lamu, which is Mars. Exiled for date raping, Sud. Enlil learns of the hidden weapons. Sud becomes Enlil's spouse, Ninlil, and bears a son, Nanar. Ninmah joins Enki in the Apsu, bears him daughters, Ninki, and Enki's spouse arrives with their son, Marduk. Clans form on Earth as Enki and Enlil beget more sons beset by hardships. The Ajiji launch a coup against Enlil. Ninurta defeats their leader, Anzu, in aerial battles, and the Anunnaki, driven to produce gold faster, mutiny. Enlil and Ninurta denounce the mutineers. Enki suggests to artificially fashion primitive workers. So here we go. All right. From the planet Lamu, the chariot departed. Toward the earth, the journey it continued. Remember, Lamu is Mars. Around the moon, they made circuits. A way station thereon to explore. Around the earth, they made circuits. Toward a splashdown slowing. In the waters beside Eridu did Nungal, the chariot, bring down. To a quay by Enlil constructed, they stepped off. Boats were no longer needed. Enlil and Enki, their sister, with embraces greeted. With Nungal they pilot, they locked arms. The heroes, notice you're referring to them as heroes, male and female, by the present heroes were with shouts greeted. All that the chariot had brought was quickly unloaded. Rocket ships and sky ships and the tools by Enki designed, and provisions of all kinds. Of all that on Nibiru transpired, of the death and the burying of Alalu, Ninmah, her brothers told. Of the way station on Lamu and the commanding by Anzu, she to them related. Enki of that uttered approval, Enlil words of bewilderment uttered. That is Annu's decision. His word is unalterable, and Annu is their father, right? Ninmah to Enlil was saying, from the malady's relief I have brought. Ninmah to her brothers said, from her pouch a bag of seeds. She brought out seeds in the soil to be sown. A host of bushes from the seed shall sprout a juicy fruit they will produce. The juice an elixir shall form. For drinking by the heroes it shall be good. Their ailments will chase away, happier than a mood shall it make. In a cool place the seeds need to be sown, by warmth and water need they nourishing. So did Ninmah to her brothers say. The place that for this is perfect I will show to you. Enlil to her said, it is where the landing place was fashioned, where an abode of cedar wood I have made. In Enlil's sky ship, the two of them, Enlil and Ninmah, skyward soared. To the landing place in the snow-covered mountains by the cedar forest, brother and sister went. Now, I wonder if this is like the fucking Caucasus Mountains or something like that. You know, these snow-covered mountains and shit. And if you look, too, it's like talking about, you know, this bag of seeds in the soil to be shown, in this juicy elixir. You know, they do drink this ambrosia drink, which, you know, allows them to be eternal. A lot of people have, you know, translated to like adrenochrome, you know. So I don't know. We were made on the, you know, from the mud, the clay, the soil. So I'm just trying to throw out some things, some ideas, get your brain kind of going in that direction. On the great stone platform the sky ship landed. To Enlil's abode they went. Once inside, Enlil embraced her. With fervor he kissed Ninmah, which means he fucked his sister. Oh, my sister, my beloved, Enlil to her whispered. By her loins he grabbed her. He grabbed her by the pussy. Like Donald Trump. And now you know why the elites are into all of that, right? It's in their blood, you know. Into her womb his semen he did not pour. So he pulled out, right? He gave her a facial. Of our son Ninurta word I bring you. Ninmah to him softly said, a young prince he is, for adventure he is ready. To join you on earth he is prepared. If you here you stay, let us, Ninurta, our son, bring forever. Enlil to her said. To the landing place heroes were arriving. Rocket ships by sky ships to the platform they carried. From the pouch of Ninmah, the seeds were obtained. In the valley's soil they were sown. A fruit from Nibiru on earth to be grown. In the sky ship, Enlil and Ninmah to Eridu returned. On the way, Enlil to her the landscape showed. The Eden's extent to her he showed. Eden. So this is back, you know, Garden of fucking Eden shit. From the skies, Enlil to her his plans explained. An everlasting plan have I designed, to her he was saying, that which for all time construction shall determine I have laid out. And I've heard this too, that all of like the cities on the earth, the countries, the streets, all of it to this day still follow the plan of Enlil. How about that? Like all of it still follows like Enlil's constructed layout of how to, properly put together a city and shit. It's pretty crazy. That which for all time construction shall determine I have laid out. Away from Eridu, where dry land begins, my quarters shall be. Larsa will be its name, a place for directing it shall become. On the banks of Baranu, the rivers of deep waters, it will be located. A twin thereof, a city, shall in future arise. Lagash, I shall name it. Between the two, on the plans, a line I have drawn. 60 leagues thereafter, a healing city shall come into being. Isn't that interesting? These cities, and remember, like when we were looking at, Genesis 6:4 or whatever, when it was talking about, the feminine, right? He was calling it like a good village, or and he's saying these cities, So I wonder if these are like soul groups that he's talking about, or aeons or epochs that he's talking about. It's like like the age of Aries and Taurus and Pisces, and I'm just trying to throw some stuff out there, because and you will see that as we go through this, like when Enki creates us, his soul is like disseminated, through so many people and shit. So it's really wild how they do this, Excuse me. Between the two, on the plans, a line I have drawn. 60 leagues thereafter, a healing city shall come into being. A city of your own it shall be. Sharubak, the haven city, I shall name it. On the center line it shall be located. To the fourth city it shall be leading. Nibiruki, Earth's crossing place, I will name it. A bond heaven and earth in it I shall establish. See, Nibiruki, Earth's crossing place. This crossing, this planet of the crossing, it's a transition. It's Earth's transitional place. I will name it. So it's saying the place of transition, which is a bond between the heaven and the earth, and I will establish it. The tablets of destinies it shall house. All missions it will control. With Eridu 5 cities there shall be counted. To eternity they shall exist. On a crystal tablet Enlil to Ninmah the master plan was showing. On the tablet she saw more markings of them. Of Enlil she inquired. Beyond the 5 cities, a chariot place I shall henceforth build. In the chariot, in the tarot, means to travel at a distance for one, or it means to like level up also, right? From Nibiru to Earth directly to arrive. Enlil to her was responding. Why by Annu's plans for Lamu, Enlil was bewildered. Ninmah then understood. My brother, magnificent is your plan for the 5 cities. To him, Ninmah was saying. Now, like I said, these 5 cities or 5 villages or 5 soul groups or 5 epochs, 5 aeons, 5 astrological cycles, or 5 races. If you look at like Helena Blavatsky and a lot of those occultic text. They believe the Aryan race is what the fourth out of the 5 races, right? So he's talking about 5 cities, and we seen earlier in Genesis 6:4, that women being described, or the daughters of men being described as good village or good city, so just saying. The creation of Shurubak, a city for healing as my abode, for my own to be, is a matter for which grateful I am. Beyond that plan, do not transgress your father, your brother too, do not offend. You are wise as well as beautiful, Enlil to her said. In the Absu, Enki plans was also conceiving where to build his house, where for heroes dwellings to prepare, where the bowels of the earth to enter. The bowels of the earth. So this is like the Lord of the Underworld right here. This is your Lucifer character. So even though Enlil, seems like the asshole of the two, he is like the masculine, kind of like, Yahweh-ish type of God. He's the one that will judge you, and he brings the flood, and he's puts all the orders together. He oversees all of it. But the actual creator, of humanity, the lover of humanity, is Enki, his brother, right? So, all right. Where for heroes' dwellings to prepare, where the bowels of the earth enter. In his skyship, the extent of the Abzu he measured. Its districts he did carefully survey. A distant land, the Abzu was. Beyond the waves, from the Eden it was away. A rich land it was, bursting with riches, perfect in fullness. Mighty rivers rushed across the region. Great waters there rapidly flowed, and abode by the flowing waters. Enki for himself established to the most of the Abzu, to a place of pure waters. Enki betook himself. In that land, the place of deepness, Enki determined, for the heroes into the earth's bowels to descend. The earth splitter Enki there established, therewith in the earth a gash to make, by way of tunnels, earth's innards to reach, the golden veins to uncover. Now, see if we can pull this up here. See, look at this. Isn't that interesting? These ancient tunnel cities, right? He created these, fucking tunnels to the innards of the earth. You can see here, just all of them. Where these, some people believe they're a couple thousand years old. Some people believe these are fucking 30,000 or more years old, depending on, which system of tunnels. But they look very, very, very old, and a lot of people believe that the gods, took mankind down here to escape the flood as well. So, I guess it's all on you. See, Turkey, Daring Kuyu, Cappadocia. So, and these golden veins, and we're going to kind of see more of this, but like when it talks about, the gold translates biblically, like if we look at the Hebrew, into the heavens, or the sky, or the spirit, right? In this case, it's spirit, right? So these golden veins is like spirit within it's the earth spirit of the earth, which is fucking crazy. Living energy of the earth. They're trying to mine this. Now by way of tunnels, earth enters to reach the golden veins to uncover. Nearby, that which crunches and that which crushes, he emplaced. The gold-bearing ores to crunch and crush. By skyships to be carried to the landing place in the Cedar Mountains to be brought. Therefore, by rocket ships to the way station on Lamu to be transported. On Earth, more heroes were arriving. Some to the Eden were assigned. Some in the Apsu tasks were given. Larsa and Lagash by Enlil were constructed. Shurubak and Ninma he did establish. With her therein a host of female healers were dwelling, young ones who give succor. In Nibiruki, Enlil, a bond, heaven and earth, was assembling. From there, all missions to command. Between Eridu and the Apsu, Enki was journeying back and forth. For supervising he went. On Lamu, construction was progressing. Heroes for the way station were also arriving. A shar, 2 shars were the preparations lasting. And shar is like a year for the Annunaki. Then Annu gave the word. On earth, the 7th day it was, so there's your 7th day of creation. On earth, the 7th day it was, a day of resting by Enki at the beginning decreed. So, it was Enki that decreed the 7th day was a day of rest. At every place the heroes were assembled, a message from Annu, from Nibiru, beamed they overheard. In the Eden they were assembled. Enlil was there in command. With him was Ninma. Her host of young ones by her side were assembled. Alaglar, who of Eridu was the master, was there. Abgal, who was the landing place command, also stood. In the Apsu were the heroes assembled. Under the gate of Enki they stood. With Enki was his vizier Izimud. Nungal the pilot was there too. On Lamu the heroes were assembled. With their proud commander Anzu they stood. 600 were on earth, 300 on Lamu were gathered. In all there were 900. The words of Annu the king they all heard. Heroes of Nibiru, you are the saviors. The fate of all is in your hands. Your success shall for eternity be recorded. By glorious names you shall be called. Those who on earth are shall as Annunaki be known. Those who from heaven to earth came. Those who on Lamu are Ajiji shall be named. Those who observe and see, they shall be. All that is required is ready. Let the gold start coming. Let Nibiru be saved. Now, isn't that interesting? So, Lamu being Mars, right, where the Ajiji came from. And there were, how many were there? The Ajiji, 600 on Earth, 300 on Lamu. We think of like the Watchers, or like the 200 Watchers or whatever in the Book of Enoch. Those who observe and see, shall they be. They would be like that 1/3, right? If you had like 600, it's 2/3 of them, and then 1/3 would be the 300. These are Gigi, I'm trying to think here, and Mars representing like this divine masculine. These other gods, the feminine. I'm just trying to, put this together here, guys. Now, this is the account of Enki and Enlil and Ninma, their love and espousals, and by their sons, the rivalries. Offspring of Annu, the three leaders were, by different mothers they were born. Enki was the firstborn son. A concubine of Annu was his mother. Enlil, by Antu, the spouse of Annu, was born. The legal heir he thus became. Ninmah, by another concubine, was mothered. A half-sister of the two half-brothers she was. The firstborn daughter of Annu she was. By her name title, Ninmah, this was indicated. Greatly beautiful she was, full of wisdom, one quick to learn. Ea, as Enki then was named, by Annu to espouse Ninmah was chosen. Thereby their offspring, son, the legal successor, therefore, thereafter to become. Ninmah of Enlil, a dashing commander, was enamored. By him she was seduced. Into her womb his seed he poured. A son from Enlil's seed she bore. Ninurta, the two have named him. By the deed was Annu angered. In punishment, he Ninmah ever to be a spouse forbade. Damn. So she was supposed to be with Enki, and she banged Enlil, and Enlil got her pregnant. So she was never to get married. Ea, his bride-to-be by Annu's decree, abandoned a princess named Damkina. He instead espoused. A son and heir to them was born. Marduk they named him. One in a pure place born, it meant. As for Enlil, a son not by espousal he had. A spouse by his side to be he did not have. It was on earth, not on Nibiru, that Enlil became espoused. The account of that is one of rape, and exile, and love that brought forgiveness, and of more sons that were only half-brothers. On earth it was summer. To his abode in the cedar forest Enlil retreated, and the cedar forest was Enlil walking in the cool of the day, and a cool mountain stream. Some of Ninmah's young ones, to the landing place assigned, were bathing. By the beauty and grace of one, Sud was her name. Enlil was enchanted. To his cedarwood abode, Enlil her invited. Come, partake with me in the elixir of Nibiru's fruit that grew here. So to her he said. Sud into Enlil's abode entered. The elixir in a cup to her, Enlil presented. Sud drank, Enlil drank too. To her, Enlil of intercourse was speaking. Unwilling was the lass. My vagina is too little. It knows not copulation. To Enlil she was saying. To her, Enlil of kissing was speaking. Unwilling was the lass. My lips are too small. They know not kissing. To Enlil she was saying. Enlil laughed and embraced her. He laughed and he kissed her. His semen into her womb he poured. To Ninmah, Sud's commander, the immoral deed was reported. Enlil, immoral one, for your deed judgment you shall face. So did Ninmah to Enlil in anger say. In the presence of 50 Annunaki, 7 who judge were assembled, 7 who judge on Enlil, a punishment decreed. Let Enlil from all cities be banished to a land of no return. Let him exiled be. In a sky chamber they made Enlil leave the landing place. Abgal was its pilot. To a land of no return Enlil was taken, never to return. In the sky chamber the two of them journeyed. To another land was their direction. There, amidst forbidding mountains, a place of desolation, Abgal the sky chamber landed. This your place of exile shall be. Abgal to Enlil was saying. No, perchance have I it chosen. To Enlil he was saying. A secret of Enki in it is hidden. In the nearby cave, Enki, 7 weapons of terror has hidden. From Alalu's celestial chariot he had them removed. Take the weapons into your possession. With the weapons your freedom attain. So was Abgal to his commander saying, a secret of Enki to Enlil he did reveal. Then from the secret place Abgal departed. Enlil alone was there left. In the Eden sued to Ninmah, her commander, words was speaking. By Enlil's seed I am pregnant. A child of Enlil in my womb has been conceived. Ninmah sued words to Enki conveyed. The Lord of earth he was. On earth he was supreme. They summoned sued before 7 who judge. Will you take Enlil as your spouse, they her asked. Words of consent she uttered. The words by Abgal to Enlil in his exile were conveyed. To a spouse sued, Enlil from his exile was returned. But that did Enki and Ninmah to him a pardon give. Enlil's official spouse sued was declared. On her the name title Ninlil, the lady of the command, was bestowed. Therefore to Ninlil and Enlil a son was born, Nanar, the bright one. Ninlil him named. He was the first of the Annunaki on earth to be conceived, one of the Nibiru's royal seed on an alien planet to be born. It was after that that Enki to Ninmah was speaking, come be with me in the Apsu. So, interesting here. We see that, the 7 who judge, and they had the 50 Anunnaki as well, right? This we're going to see a lot of this too, these numbers kind of recurring through the different texts and books and stuff, the 50, and that's why there's like the 50 stars on, the flag. This also has to do with Prometheus as well. Prometheus being the first, he was bright as well, so this is like Lucifer, right? I'm believing, this is something very similar, because look, Nanar, the bright one, Ninlil he named, right? If you look at like the story of Prometheus, he stole 50 sparks, right? So it wasn't 50 Anunnaki, but he stole 50 sparks of life, and when he fled, and I guess in essence he was born or conceived out of the womb early. He had both parts. So Prometheus stole the 50 sparks of life and then made man out of clay. And then Lucifer was in the egg or the womb, the cosmic womb, and he jumped out early before he was fully developed. And he was supposed to be this perfect godchild, this bright one, the light bearer. And because he jumped out too early, he still had both parts, male and female, right? So there's 2 different stories there. I just kind of got myself backwards there. So Prometheus with the 50 sparks, who stole them, took them to earth, and then out of clay and mud he made humanity with these sparks, right? And he's the light bearer, and then Lucifer, who was in the cosmic womb, jumped out early, supposed to be this child of perfection that was born. He jumps out of the womb early, born with both parts, and he was an androgyne or hermaphrodite. And then, we get to Hermes, which is Mercury, mercurial energy, which is the messenger of the gods. And then Aphrodite, which is Venus. And Hermes and Venus are the masculine and feminine aspects of Lucifer, Hermaphrodite, right? Hermaphrodite, masculine, feminine. These 2, so. Now we're going to jump over to something else. So I don't want to, keep reading the same thing over and over. But when we go back to this, I'm going to jump to, let me get it set up here. The 6th tablet, and we'll just read like the synopsis and just a little bit of it, because it gets, they don't speak great English and it just gets too repetitive. You can see here, seeding, Sumerian gods create bloodlines, seeding the tree of life with a device. The entity wears a bird-headed mask and feels feminine. Now, see, this is where you kind of get, and think about these two brothers here. You know, one forced himself on his sister's daughter, right, and got her pregnant. And the other was the firstborn son, but he was born of like basically a concubine. He's, you know, born of a hooker or a whore, you know. So, you know, both of them, you know, the Anunnaki were definitely not gods by any stretch of the imagination. You know, they were very much human, and if not human, then they had a lot of, you know, fallen attributes, a lot of flawed attributes within them, you know, which translates into, you know, humanity now, you know, which is why we do the shit we do if we truly did descend from them. You know, they were a warlike species. Like in the first tablet, it starts off with them using nuclear bombs, you know, like literally. It's the cloud of terror and all this shit. Like they fucked the entire planet up multiple times throughout this book, you know, so. Now, both arms have wrist devices. It says used for time travel. And you see the pine cone here, or the pineal. You know, and if we look at this too, which we've kind of got into this in the past, but it's like, you know, it's like a serpent or a snake. You know, his arm represents that, you know, a serpent or a snake, holding the pineal, you know, your third eye, and then in his other hand, he has what looks like a magnet, you know, to me, which is like him being centered or grounded, right? So it's like being balanced, centered, or grounded to allow, you know, his third eye to open, that, you know, so. And with the bird head, you know, this is like this could be construed a few different ways. This could be like the falcon head, you know, of like Horus, or an eagle head, which would be like Jupiter. You know, these are often, you know, similar depictions. Both have wrist devices used for time travel. This is your more standard depiction of the Anunnaki. You know, the big tall guys with the beards. They have these, you know, long hats. Encoding grids, teleportation, and communication. You know, and I don't know if that's truly what they're doing here, but, you know, that's what it's saying, right? But they're encoding and teleporting. Creation by sound, right? And we do know that actually there was creation by sound, you know, creation by sound, because God said, let there be light. God said, right? So we do know, like, you know, the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and it was good, right? So, you know, using sound. And there is also many schools of thought and beliefs that the Great Pyramids themselves were built with sound, you know, using electromagnetic frequency or different sound frequencies to lift up those blocks and put them into place and all that. So, the Kabbalah tree of life. You see, you know, the winged disc at the top here, which we're going to get into that, the Nibiru and all that, and see how they have the wings on their back too, showing that they were angels. You know, and they all have this as well, right? This tree of life. And I feel like that's not just the Kabbalah, you know, Sephiroth tree. I feel like that's actually DNA. Kabbalah tree of life, again, you know, enki and enlil on both sides. And sacred geometry and consciousness, and you see it right there. You know, there is, you know, the DNA strand or, what we call the tree of life. And it's like them, is this them altering it, or, changing it? Ahura Mazda, the overseer of the earth, or higher extraterrestrial intelligence. Zoroaster, see, it's very similar. The lion's tail, or Sphinx, Sophia, male or female, and it's, what is it? He's also the lion-headed serpent, which is Yaldabaoth, right, in the Gnostic text. Enki. Ea stands in his watery home, the Apsu. Enki walks out of the water to the land attended by his messenger, Isimud, and who is readily identifiable by his two faces looking the opposite direction, which is duality, right? Representing duality, the two faces. Enki standing with the gods and the initiate, right here. And you see the bull horns. The water of life flowing into the laboratory glassware indicates alchemical circulations. So, it's like giving somebody something for their initiation to bring them into the mysteries or enlightenment. The creation of the first human. The laboratory vessels symbolize the bloodline and the tree of life. Handling the water or liquid blood of life. To biogenetically engineer humans. Humans are a hybrid species. Ea, Enki, was a deity in the Sumerian mythology, later known as Ea in Babylonian mythology. The name Ea is of Sumerian origin. It was written by means of two signs signifying house and water. Enki was the deity of water, intelligence, creation, and lord of the Apsu, the watery abyss. The creation myths, the main temple of Enki was a so-called Ingura Ra, the house of the water deep. In Eridu, which was in the wetlands of the Euphrates Valley at some distance from the Persian Gulf, the cradle of civilization, his name is possibly an epithet bestowed on him for the creation of the first man, Adamu or Adapa. He was the leader of the first sons of Annu, who came down to the earth, playing a pivotal role in creating humanity, then saving them from the deluge. According to the Sumerian mythology, Enki allowed humanity to survive the deluge designed to kill them. After Enlil and the rest of the Anunnaki decided that man would suffer total annihilation, he covertly rescued the human Zeusudra by instructing him, which is Noah, by instructing him to build some kind of a boat for his family, or by bringing him into the heavens in a magic boat. This apparently is the oldest surviving source of Noah's Ark myth and other parallel Middle Eastern deluge myths. As for flood myths, linked to the flood myths, Enki was considered a god of life and replenishment, and was often depicted with streams of water emanating from his shoulders. Alongside him were trees symbolizing the male and the female aspects of nature, each holding the male and female aspects of the life essence, which he, as apparent alchemist of the gods, would masterfully mix to create several beings that would live upon the face of the earth. Family. Enki's youngest son, Ningazida, was a lord of the Tree of Truth in Mesopotamia and played the role of Thoth in Egypt. The ancient mystery school teachings of Thoth were passed down to his initiates, who became the priest. They hid the secret knowledge of creation, passing it down through the ages until Their experiment was to an end. Symbols, enki's symbols were two serpents entwined on a staff. And the basis for the winged caduceus symbol was, by modern Western medicine, the rod of Hermes. The symbols included a goat and a fish, which later combined into a single beast, the Capricorn, which became one of the signs of the zodiac. Enki's sacred number is 40, and then we know, Jesus, 40 days in the desert. Moses, 40 years in the desert. 40 in the tarot represents a king, right? Or the maturing of a man into a king. He was a keeper of the holy powers called Me. The exact meaning of his name is not sure. The common translation is Lord of the Earth. Sumerian is translated as Lord. He as Earth, but there are theories that Ki has another origin, right? Yeah, we do know. The Ki is Annunaki, right? Absu. Eridu, meaning the good city, was one of the oldest settlements in the Euphrates Valley and is now represented by the mounds known as Abu Shawrain. In the absence of evacuations on that site, we are dependent for our knowledge of Ea on material found elsewhere. This is, however, sufficient to enable us to state definitively that Ea was a water deity, Lord especially of the water under the earth, the Absu. Whether Ea, as some scholars prefer, represents the real pronunciation of his name, we do not know. Older accounts sometimes suppose that by reason of the constant accumulation of soil in the Euphrates River Valley, Eridu was formed and situated in the Persian Gulf itself, as indicated by mention in the Sumerian text of its being on the Absu. But it is now known that the opposite is true, that the waters of the Persian Gulf have been eroding the land, and that the Absu must refer to the fresh water of the marshes surrounding the city. Eridu, whether Eridu was at one time also played an important political role, is not certain, though it's not improbable. At all events, the prominence of the Ea cult led, as in the case of Nippur, the survival of Eridu as a sacred city. Long after it had ceased to have any significance as a political center, myths in which Ea figures prominently have been found in Assurbanipal's library, indicating that Ea was regarded as a protector and teacher of mankind, and he is essentially a god of civilization, and was natural that he was also looked upon to the creator of man and the world in general. Okay, well, traces of this view appear in the Marduk epic, celebrating the achievements of the god, and the close connection between the Ea cult at Eridu and that of Marduk also follows two considerations. The name of Marduk's sanctuary at Babylon bears the same name, Esagia, as that of Ea in Eridu. Marduk is generally termed the son of Ea, who derives his powers from the voluntary abdication of the father in favor of his son. Well, it's important, however, to particularly as a third figure in the triad, three other members of which were Annu and Enlil, Ea requires a permanent place in the pantheon. And this is Annu, right? Annu is the sky god, the god of heaven, the lord of the constellations, the king of the gods. spirits and demons, and dwelt in the highest heavenly regions. And it was believed that he had the power to judge those who had committed crimes, and that he had created the stars as soldiers to destroy the wicked. He was the father of the Anunnaki. In art, he was sometimes depicted as a jackal. His attribute was the royal tiara. Most times, he was decorated with 2 pairs of bull horns. Interesting. See, these. That's what's so wild about it, is like how you see, it was the bull. He's the father of these Anunnaki, and then it goes to Enki, who actually created mankind, and he is the Lord of Water. It follows these astrological cycles and seasons as well within their mythology, or so it's like the 7 weapons. I am interested to, what you guys believe those 7 weapons are. Do you believe that the 7 weapons are the 7 chakras? Do you believe the 7 weapons are the 7 planets? What are those 7 weapons? If you guys have any idea, I would love to hear what you believe. They sound like savage, incestuous bastards 1 minute and something else the next. Yeah, right. I know, and I think it is very interesting where the stories intersect. It's funny. They are incestuous bastards. I mean, how many different times have you seen them bang their sister and shit? Get her pregnant, too. It's like they raped each other and shit, and there was like it was no big deal. It's weird. So, Sumerian mythology, An was the god whose name was synonymous with the sun's zenith or heaven. He was the oldest god in the Sumerian pantheon and part of a triad including Enlil, god of the sky, prince of the power of the air, Enlil being your Satan type of god. He's the Lord Commander, he's the god of war, right? The god that judges and destroys, the god that will fuck you up. And Enki, the god of water, which he's the Lord of the earth, the Lord of the water, Lord of love. He's the one who his dick dug the Nile River and all kinds of shit. Like, he bangs a bunch of women all the way through these books too. He's definitely loves to have sex. And then, he was called Annu by the Akkadians, rulers of Mesopotamia after the conquest of Sumer in 2334 BCE by King Sargon of Akkad. In Sumerian mythology, and later for Assyrian and Babylonians, Annu was a sky god, the god of heaven, Lord of the constellations, king of the gods, spirits and demons, and dwelt in the highest heavenly regions. It was believed that he had the power to judge those who had committed crimes, and that he had created stars as soulmates to destroy the wicked. And he was sent, wow. So he created stars as soldiers to destroy the wicked. So stars are luminaries in essence, which means they're angels. So he created angels to destroy the wicked. That's fucking crazy. So, there's nothing nice here. By virtue of being the first figure in the triad, consisting of Annu, Baal. How about that? Baal. And it really does make you wonder too with Baal, right? And how everybody calls God El. Right? And how, Baal, El, B-E-L, E-L. I'm just saying. it does make you wonder, where El actually truly derives from. Not just Elohim, right? Something else, Is it Baal? Is that where we get El? Just a slight variation on the name to keep you worshiping the same gods, Annu came to be regarded as the father and king of the gods, and is so prominently associated with the city of French and southern Babylonia that there are good reasons for believing this place to have been the original seat of the Annu cult. If this is correct, the goddess Nana or Ishtar of Iraq was presumably regarded as Erech. Eric was regarded as his consort. The name of the god signifies a high one. He was probably the god of the atmospheric region above the earth, and perhaps a storm god, like Thor. Before Hammurabi, Annu was regarded as a god of the heavens. It seemed from this grouping divine powers, recognizing the universe, and triad symbolizing three divisions. So, you get your Trinity right there. Sorry, these words were kind of small. So you get your Trinity right there. This is where a lot of that derives from, the Trinity shit. And kind of looking at, Nibiru, because this is like the home planet of these Anunnaki. And try to go for a little bit longer here. Nibiru to the Babylonians was a celestial body associated with the god Marduk. Remember, Marduk was the one who took on Tiamat. He goes and takes on Tiamat for the gods. And we'll read that little piece here before we do that. Yeah. The Enuma Elish. Now Tiamat renewed the conflict and created an army of monsters. This time the great Ea could not withstand the attack, and the gods decided to ask the young Marduk to defend them against Tiamat. Lord Anshar, the father of the gods, rose up in grandeur, and having pondered in his heart, he said to the Anunnaki, "He whose strength is potent shall be our avenger. He who is sharp in battle, Marduk the hero." Ea called Marduk into his secluded presence, giving counsel. He told him what was in his heart. And Marduk is basically like the ram. So he would be like the age of Aries or something, if we kind of looked at all the symbolism for him, And he's also like Horus, like the sun too, as well. Marduk came forth, the wisest of the gods, your son. His heart prompted him to face Tiamat. He opened his mouth, saying to me, "If indeed as your avenger I am to vanquish Tiamat and save your lives, convene the assembly and proclaim supreme my destiny. When jointly in Ubushukena you sat down rejoicing, let my word instead of yours determine the fates. What I may bring into being shall be unchangeable. Neither dismissed nor replaced shall be the command of my lips. Now hasten hither and promptly fix for him your decrees, that he may go forth and face your mighty foe." They erected for him an ample throne. Facing his fathers, he sat down, presiding. You are the most honored of the great gods. Your decree is unrivaled. Your command is Annu. You, Marduk, are the most honored of the great gods. Your decree is unrivaled. Your word is Annu. From this day, unchangeable shall be your pronouncement, to raise or bring low. These shall be in your hand. Your utterance shall be true, and your command shall be unimpeachable. So Nibiru, to the Babylonians, was a celestial body associated with the god of Marduk. The name is Akkadian and means crossing place or place of transition. In most Babylonian texts, it is identified with the planet Jupiter. In Tablet 5 of the Enuma Elish, it may be the pole star, which at the time was Thuban or possibly Kochab, Ursa Minor. The term Nibiru comes from the Sumerian cuneiform tablets and writings dating 5,000 years old. The term Nibiru means planet of the crossing, and its cuneiform sign was often a cross or a various winged disc. The Sumerian culture was located in the fertile lands between the Euphrates and Tigris River and the southern part of today's Iraq. Due to its use in opposition to the phrase Itibiru, who used to cross, Landsberger and Keener Wilson suggest that it refers to a stationary point in the heavens. In Tablet 5 of the Enuma Elish, the word Nibiru, Nibiru, or Nibiana, translated as pole star. Author adds a footnote applied to Marduk. There is no question that in the late periods, Nibiru is a planet, whether Jupiter or Mercury. However, for the reference translation of Tablet 5, pole star is used. Interesting. Pole star is used. What would be, Nibiru was the 12th member in the solar system family of planets, which includes 10 planets, the sun and the moon. Its catastrophic collision with Tiamat, the planet between Mars and Jupiter, would have formed the planet Earth, but the asteroid belt of the moon. So, catastrophic collision with Tiamat. And this Tiamat, I believe, this was in the Cthulhu mythos, right? Tiamat was one of the serpents. It was like the feminine serpent or feminine dragon. We had the two dragons, the red and the blue, the masculine and the feminine, and they destroyed the feminine dragon and broke her into a billion pieces and then scattered those pieces all across space, essentially, so she could never be put back together or never be back together whole. Marduk, being, Mars or Ares, right, this god of war, and also like Horus, representing the sun, as well, this new Aeon coming through, and he's the son of Enki, so he's got the wisdom, the strength, all of it. He's got it all. He's the one who takes on, this divine feminine or this, spirit that's consuming and devouring all and goes to war with her and breaks her into pieces. And that's how he got to be, the new Annu, the new king. He usurped Enlil, actually. Which would be like the Satan of the two brothers, Enlil being Satan, Enki being Lucifer, or I don't know if we could go Christ, but enlil being Lucifer, or enlil being Satan, enki being Lucifer, and then Marduk, with this Aries, Mars-esque, of the East, this Horus, this new Aeon, the Ram, all these different symbols of him, is then given the crown of Yahweh. Basically, he becomes Yahweh, It was the home of the result of one of Nibiru's host satellites colliding with Tiamat, and a heavenly host is a luminary. It is a prince or a star, and he was a prince as well. So, great princes are archangels and all of that. So, like when we look at the wording, comparable to Pangea, and our current knowledge of all the continents as one landmass. Let's think about that. Tiamat, appropriately leaving half a planet comparable to Pangea. All the continents as one landmass, and then we're broken into 7 continents, 7 chakras, 7 planets, 7 days of the week. That's very interesting. It was all one before that, before they broke it into pieces. And leaving rifts in the crust beneath the Pacific Ocean, it was until recently thought impossible for such large celestial bodies to collide due to magnetic force. However, this concept has been given new life in the introduction of Orpheus theory and the simulation of a collision between as our own Earth and about half its size. It was the home of technologically advanced human-like alien race, the Annunaki of Sumerian myth, who Sitchin claims arrived and later came to the Earth. Sitchin also transcribed that their traveling to Earth was a result of their failing atmosphere, having since been drawn into our solar system from its cosmic passing. The atmosphere of Nibiru was subject to intense external stress from our sun. They came in search of gold particles for their reflective properties, recognized even today by NASA, that who plate various objects, including astronaut helmets, ice shields, to place in the atmosphere. According to Sitchin, they subsequently genetically engineered our species, originally as slave workers, to work in their gold mines by crossing their genes with those of Homo erectus. And this, creating this slave race, to mine for gold. It sounds like, in that gold being spirit, it sounds like they were, mining energy, mining, spirit, harnessing our divine energy from us, our souls, harnessing our souls from us. That's what it seemed, in them using that dark race, dark slave race. It's like our shadows, right? Using our egos or our physical bodies to mine gold for these, celestial beings, or these gods, these angels, these watchers, these sons of God. So, I'm going to stop here. I'm getting tired, and I'm not reading like I want to read now. So, I don't want to start screwing up. I do want to, before I wrap this up, I want to thank everybody for watching me. Remember, this playlist, the Mystery of the Gods of Egypt, and all that, they go unlisted now after they're live, and it's for the patrons and the donors. So, everybody, please consider donating, supporting to the channel. PayPal.me/TheBestDamnPodcast, Cash App, Best Damn Podcast, Facebook Messenger, and it's Facebook.com, John King, Best Damn Podcast. Every little bit helps. And we're viewer powered, so we're completely demonetized and all that. So it's you that, helps keep the channel going. And I just use it to pay for the streaming services and all the stuff, that way we can do this still and still be able to have all the cool different things you do, tarot readings and all that shit. So please consider donating, supporting. I'm extremely grateful to everybody who will, and everybody who has. And if you donate in the month of February, you get access all month long to any of the private content. I'll give you access to the playlist. You just text that number or email, and I'll hook you up with that. And what else? Yeah, or you can join us over on Patreon, patreon.com, Best Damn Podcast Official. And every time we do like a private live, you text that number, 513-393-2396, or email the realbestdampodcast@gmail.com. Same thing if you'd like to book a personal tarot reading. Make sure to follow us, Instagram, Facebook, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and TikTok, YouTube, all of it, guys. I love all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will come back. I believe the next time we're going to do the Norse gods, Norse mythology. We still got the follow-up to the Egyptian gods. We'll have a follow-up to the Annunaki gods, and just so many, cool things. I still got the Ark of the Covenant to do. Just lots and lots of cool content on the way. Make sure to check out the daily reads. And like I said, hit the like, comment, let me know what you think, and share this content. It really helps me out. And donate and support, guys. It really helps me as well. So, love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. If I can get this...